Welcome to the Refine and Shine, the podcast dedicated to mastering the art of continuous improvement and optimizing every aspect of your life. I'm Angelina Rivera, your host, and together we'll uncover the secrets to refining our lives, our habits, and our processes to unlock our inner brilliance. Join us on Refine and Shine, where we'll delve deep into achieving more in life without the burnout and without all the stress. This podcast is your platform for a more fulfilling life through continuous improvement and personal growth. In each episode, I and a diverse array of guests discuss practical strategies for up-leveling every aspect of your life. From developing good habits and organizing your space to refining your mindset and personal goals, we're going to explore it all. Our guests share personal stories about the systems they've developed or systems they've used and the tweaks they've made in their lives when refinement was needed, allowing them to truly shine. Listen to Refine and Shine to learn how you can implement continuous improvement techniques in your daily routine, develop and maintain healthy habits that lead to success and satisfaction, organize your life to reduce the stress and increase your productivity, foster a growth mindset that propels you to new heights. My mission is to inspire you to take bold action, make positive changes, and become the best version of yourself. Whether you're aiming to elevate your career, nurture meaningful relationships, or enhance your overall well-being, Refine and Shine is your guiding light. With over 25 years of experience in continuous improvement, I help businesses streamline their processes, establish efficient work areas, and implement standard work protocols. I have trained over 600 individuals and teams in process improvement, optimizing workflows, and enhancing overall operational efficiency. Tune in every week as we embark on an enlightening journey, exploring paths to refinement and illuminating the way to shine in every area of our lives. Subscribe now and join us on this journey to polish your life and let your best self shine through. Thank you for joining us on Refine and Shine. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Refine and Shine podcast. I'm super excited about my guests today, just to find out all the things that they're about and how much wisdom they're going to be able to share with you today. My guest today is Dr. Lyman Montgomery, who is the founder of Focused Driven Lifestyle Coaching, which is a global platform that helps leaders and entrepreneurs achieve clarity, balance, and purpose in every area of life. A best-selling author, an international speaker, and a certified coach, he has trained and coached more than 60,000 people worldwide and has spoken to audiences ranging from small groups to stadiums with more than 35,000 in attendance. Dr. Montgomery is the creator of the 5S framework that stands for structure, systems, strategies, simplicity, and sustainability. This approach equips people to build lives and organizations that run smoothly, even on challenging days. His transformational I can't to I will method empowers individuals to move from limitations to momentum, replacing excuses with consistent action. Through his coaching, his books, and speaking, Dr. Montgomery helps people lead with focus, live with purpose, and thrive with faith. Thank you for being a guest today.
I'm excited for being here. Thank you for having me.
What I'm so excited about is how you got into coaching. I mean, we all got somewhere to where we are, from where it was in the past to who we are today. So kind of take us back to the beginning on how you got into this type of coaching.
Yeah, going back almost 20, 21, 22 years ago, I was the type of person that was busy trying to build a company, living out of a suitcase. And at the time, my son, Destin, was around maybe 3 years old and was planning a birthday party. And I had promised my then wife that I would help with the party, but I got so distracted trying to build a business that about maybe 2 days prior to his birthday, I called her up from off the road. I said, hey, okay, I got some time, let's plan the birthday. And she was like, don't worry about it. I took care of it 2 weeks ago. And matter of fact, she went so far as say, matter of fact, Destin, He was really upset because he was looking forward to you helping plan his birthday. And that really troubled me. And it set me on this quest to understand focus. And why was I so distracted? Something that was so important as my son's, I think it was like his third or fourth birthday party, that he wanted dad to be involved, but I was too busy chasing money, chasing contracts. And I remember saying to myself, something has to change. That wasn't the first time. It seemed like every time I was asked to do something, there was always, okay, I get around to doing it. I missed out on contracts. I missed out on a lot of important things. And I realized that I had a distracted mind. And I began to look at, people always told me you need to focus, but what does that actually mean? And I remember hiring a coach, and he really helped me understand the triggers that I was pressing, those triggers that caused me to lose focus. And once I began to apply what I learned in a 6-week coaching program, I said, wow, this is what I want to do. So I went through the prerequisites to become a certified life and then a business coach. And then I progressed to becoming a um, NLP coach, as well as getting my Six Sigma certification, dealing with business leaders in the area of focus and productivity. And that's how I came up with the 5S framework. It literally started with missing out on my son's birthday party uh, and realizing that something needed to change. And that's what led to the foundation of creating focus driven lifestyle that's been in existence now for going on 23 years.
Oh, wow. I think that's awesome. I mean, yes, I can relate, and I can relate as being a parent who is trying to do all these things, and trying just to provide for your children. And sometimes they don't see all the things we're doing for them, but then also it's also a reminder to us too to slow down, because time is precious, right? We don't get the time
Yes.
back. And so to slow down and kind of refocus. And I love that, there's always a trigger or something that happens to help us like flip the switch. And I love how I wanted to say, when I was reading the 5S framework, and I was reading it when I introduced you, was that something similar to Lean Six Sigma, because we do the 5S's, right? And Lean Six
Right,
Sigma,
right.
right?
Actually, it's somewhat modeled after that, but the 5S framework actually came from interviewing probably um, at that particular time, probably close to 10,000 business owners across the world. And I kept seeing similar themes. And the biggest thing that would come up as to why their businesses were failing, or why they were failing in their marriages or failing in life, is they didn't have a good structure. It wasn't that they weren't smart. It wasn't that they didn't have discipline, but they didn't have the right structure. And what I mean by structure is they didn't have a framework. And everything is based upon the foundation. If you look at a house, the deeper the foundation, the stronger that building would be. And so when it came to working with a coach or a author or a consultant or a business owner, and they would say, for example, I need to be more present. Uh, every time I get easily distracted, how do I become more present? Well, we start with the foundation of what are those things that tend to pull you away? Is it the phone ringing? Is it notifications? Well, the simple answer is let's do this. Allow your brain to absorb as much crap as it can within 5 minutes. Give yourself 5 minutes to pig out, answer emails, and then give yourselves 15 minutes of quiet. And you'll be surprised if people would just do that, of triaging your brain. And what you're doing, you're reprogramming your brain of saying, okay, I'm going to give you all of this information, whether it's social media, whether it's a short clip or something. Absorb everything you can, but within the boundaries of 5 minutes. Then I want you for 15 minutes to sit, turn your phone off, and just sit in silence and ask yourself this simple question: what am I to do with what I just saw or what I just read? Now you've given your brain a job. Rather than just consuming information, now you're saying, okay, I have all this information. What do I do with it? And the brain is a fascinating tool because the brain only has two functions: survival of the species and regulation of energy. That's it. How do we know this? If I were to put you in a cold climate, the brain says, okay, the lungs are important, the heart is important, the stomach is important, but you know what? We really don't need the fingers. So the first thing that it sacrifices are your digits, fingers, toes, and it kind of works its way up. That's why we know that the brain, the primary purpose, how do we save the species or save you? The second is, how do we regulate energy? And so when a person says I can multitask, they really cannot, because the brain can only do one thing at a time. So when a person is doing three things, what you're really doing, you're dividing your brain into 33 and a third. So you're only giving attention to 33 and a third on one thing, 33 and a third on the second thing. The better way is to say, let me focus for 15 minutes or whatever period of time on one thing. It's called chunking. Take a break, walk around, drink some water, and then come back. And now you're 100% present. And so that's how I kind of came up with the 5S, starting with the structure. And then we move from there and say, well, every structure has to have something in it that tie these different parts together. And that's how I came up with system. Your body, going back to the example of your body has a nervous system. It has a cardiovascular system. The largest system in your body is skin. And so again, I began to look at how do you take similar things and bring them together and create systems, marketing systems, advertising system, um, even a system of how you regulate your day. So you systematize through automation. And so that's kind of how we kind of got to the 5S framework.
I love that. I love that. And I love how you said we cannot multitask, because I argue this with so many people. I do time management coaching, and I'm also a Lean Six Sigma black belt, so I like work with
Yeah, I
systems,
saw that.
computers.
Yeah, that we both have that in common, right?
Yeah. And I always tell people you cannot, and they're like, yes, I can do all these things, but then you lead to rework, because like you said, you're only giving you doing three things at once. You're only using 33% of your brain to do this particular task, which can lead to rework or errors, defects, which means rework. So then you have to spend
Absolutely.
longer to do the things, just because you couldn't just slow down for a minute and just focus on that one task, which I think is so important. You cannot, our brains aren't wired, like you said, to do that. And I think it's so important that we're intentional with our time. Like, when we are present with our children, that we are present. We are not working and thinking about all the other things that we need to do, because again, time is precious. Feeling overwhelmed by endless to-do lists and constant distractions? You're not alone. Many professionals and entrepreneurs struggle with never-ending tasks that spill into personal time, difficulty prioritizing what's truly important, a lack of clear structure in their daily routines. Well, let me introduce you to your Unlock Your Time Potential program, an 8-week coaching program designed to help you reclaim your time and boost productivity. What you will gain is proven strategies to manage your day effectively, techniques to eliminate distractions and stay focused, tools to align your daily actions with your long-term goals. Ready to take control of your time? Join the waitlist today and be the first to know when enrollment opens. Don't miss the opportunity to transform your productivity and achieve your goals. Check out the link in the summary notes. Precious. And
Yes.
it's very important when you have a company, that you're practicing these things like as your everyday life, because You want to have that strong foundation, the structure, the systems in place. And then how did you pick strategies to come into play?
Yeah, and so with this, the strategies came into place. Once you have a good structure, once you put these systems into play, now you have to say, okay, what do I do with these systems? How do I get the synergy of these systems to begin to fire so that I can get to an end result? And that's where strategies come into play. That's why you have to look at it and say, okay, a good strategy versus that of just tactics. Tactics are just a bunch of just random ideas or executions, right? But when you put them all together, now you have a strategy. For example, a good strategy will have three key components. Number one, a good strategy is always forward looking. How do I get from where I am, A, to where I want to be? How do I become B when I'm stuck in A? So A is your current situation. Where am I at now? C might be, you know what, in 3 years, I want to amass, let's say, $1 million or something like that. Or it could be $100,000, depending on where you're at. Well, the B is the bridge. And so the strategy is going to be that vehicle or that bridge that's going to allow you to get there. When you take the strategy and you break that strategy down to easy consumable parts, now you get into tactics. What are the three things? And I teach my clients this: never go above three primary objectives per day. What are the three critical things I must get done today? Once you get done, and the reason I use the power of three is that, think about it this way: beginning, middle, end. The beginning is, how do I start my day? Where should I be at midday? And where should I be at the end of the day? It just becomes easy, and it takes up less energy for the brain to think in terms like that. What's the one critical thing I must get done in the morning? How do I check to see if I'm on par? Well, that's your midday check-in. Your midday check-in will let you know if you're going to achieve your task. So, for example, if I set my goal by 11 o'clock, I need to have made 3 client calls. Well, if I'm down, I've only made 1, then I'm in a hole by 2, and I have, let's say, 2 hours to go. Then that lets me know I need to put everything on hold and triage and focus on making these 2 calls, because my goal was 3 and I've only made 1. And so that's what I'm talking about when I talk about strategy, is looking at it from the beginning, the middle or the midpoint, and then the end. And you ask yourself at the end of the day, did I accomplish the 3 things that I set out? If the answer is yes, then move on to the next. If the answer is no, then you ask the question, what were the pitfalls? What were the interruptions? What got in the way that prevented me? Because sometimes, things happen. You get a phone call, your son is sick. Well, everything has to stop because you have to now take time to make sure that the family's okay. It could be a meeting that was not planned. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Oh my God, we just lost a major client, all hands on deck. So things happen. But I tell people, even when you have situations that are out of your control, there are still things that you can do to gain control. And the easiest way to gain control when things seem to be out of control is the power of this one question: what can I do right now to move me closer to my goal? With all the stuff that's going on, what's the one thing I can do? Sometimes the answer is just listen or be still or gather more information. Sometimes the answer is do nothing, but just be still. And when you ask yourself that question, again, it's training your brain to take the next step to move you forward in the direction that you want to go. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it's so important. I always tell people, like, when you have a long list of things to do, and you kind of like do a brain dump, and you have 15 things to do, you don't have to do them all that day. You can schedule them throughout your week.
Exactly.
You can use that 15 items, and do, think about how much, like you said, time chunking. I call it, time blocking. How much time do
Yes.
you need to get these tasks done, and do a check-in. Because if you're able to do, when you get a 50, you have the 15 items on that list, and you get overwhelmed and you do nothing, then how's that helping you? But if you're able to just tackle 3 a day for the next, but within a week, you're done with all the things. And I think that's what we overthink of what we can accomplish in one day by not doing anything than what we could do if we just really focused our time to do these 3 things every single
Absolutely.
day.
And then that leads into the next S, which is simplicity. The more you can simplify your life, especially now with tools such as automation, it surprised me that people still write checks to pay bills. Now, if you get some type of relaxation from it, then great. But if you're a busy person, you're still having to take time to write a check when you can just automate the payments. Again, that is waste. As we call it, muda, right? That's
Hmm.
just waste.
Yeah.
Um, but again, some people get enjoyment out of doing that. Um, what's important to understand with simplicity is it has to be simple for you,
Mhm.
not a one size fit all. And so I have in my coaching program, especially when I talk about structure, we talk about organization. I created what's called 5 ways people can organize their desk and their life based on their personality type. And I also have an assessment people can take to kind of identify what their, predominant personality type might be. But the other thing that's important when it comes to simplicity is we have to understand the stories that we tell ourselves. If we believe something is complicated, then guess what? It's complicated.
Mhm.
I remember talking with someone and I was sharing with a business leader who managed a large team. And I was sharing some strategies and some techniques. And no matter what I said, the response was, but that's so hard. I could have said, you know what, just sit there and be quiet. That is so hard, but that's so hard. And what I realized is he was operating in what I call FIST, FIST. And what FIST represents are facts, interpretation, stories, and truth. And this is how you kind of play out that FIST is with growing up, my parents, and I found out this is all across the world. Parents must go to the same school of raising their kids. Have you ever heard this? It's raining outside. Put a hat on so you don't catch a.
Cold.
Well, how do all parents know that?
I don't
The
know.
problem is we equate wet with a virus. Just because it's wet outside or it's cold outside has nothing to do with catching a cold. But all of us have bought into that story that we tell ourselves, especially if it goes like this. Listen, I knew John. John went outside without a hat on. He caught a cold, and 3 days later, he had pneumonia and he almost died. So you want to make sure you go outside with a hat so you don't be like John. So what are we done with the facts? Now, what are the facts? Is it raining? Yes, that's a fact. Is it cold outside? Yes, that's a fact. But what's our interpretation? The interpretation that we give to make sense of those facts is, oh, apparently because mom said John caught pneumonia that he went outside. So now I equate rain and snow with catching a virus. And now I build a whole story around that and I present it as if it's truth. And that's what I call the fist. We take facts, we interpret those facts, we create our own little stories, and we've all done this. That's why it's hard for some people to move out of being stuck. It's because they've created a whole story when it comes to change. Well, you know what? That's not going to work. 20 years ago, we tried that and it didn't work. Matter of fact, we lost our shirt. You've created a whole story that has now locked you in, that is hard for you to get out. So just like that fist is closed, you have to unpack each one and begin to unpack. And now, guess what? That fist is now open to receive, because a closed hand cannot receive. A closed mind cannot receive until we begin to unpack that. And sometimes it takes time, that now they're open to receive. And that leads to the last one, sustainability. So once you have a good structure, you have systems in place, you have now deployed these various strategies, it's simplifying through automation, right? And you've also got out of your own way by the stories that you tell yourself. Now you have to ask yourself, is it sustainable? Can I take what I've just learned using the 5S framework and apply it to different scenarios? And I've tested this. I've had people take the 5S framework and I said, will this work in your relationships? And I've had people, testimonials by the hundreds of people say, oh my God, it worked. Because I now, what's the structure of my relationship? Well, you know what? To be honest with you, Lyman, we started wrong. We only dated for 2 weeks and then we got married. We really didn't know each other.
Yeah.
Okay. Or, you know what? This is not sustainable. I cannot continue eating the way I'm eating and maintain a certain weight or my certain level of health. Is just not sustainable. So what can I do? What can I change to make sure that the lifestyle that I want is sustainable? Not only is it sustainable, but it's simplifying. That's why diets don't work. First of all, it's a horrible word. The first three letters spell die. Who wants to die?
Oh my goodness.
So
It's like,
another word for diet is kill it.
yeah. That's funny because I just recently changed the way that I was eating because of sustainability. Like I cannot,
Yes.
I just got done with a surgery and it was just the weight started piling on and I was like, okay, am I going to be able to sustain? I don't want to sustain this weight. I need to lose it, make a change. So what I was eating, and my husband always, if I said the word, he goes, "It's not," and he said the same thing. Die. It says die. You're gonna kill it. So,
Right.
eh, but you got to make it simple. Like when we change the way that we eat and stuff like that, we have to simplify it so that we sustain it. We have to make it easy for ourselves. And what I think is amazing is that like when you talk about how we start our day and we have the three things priorities we do, it amazes me when people set up their house, their kitchen and their coffee, if they are a coffee person, their coffee pot's here, their cups are over here. They're making their brain overthink right when they start their day,
Yes.
right? And that's why
Yes.
those are simple things that we need to simplify on how we, even like our clothes, plan your clothes the night before. Don't make the brain overthink right away when we wake up in the morning. So,
You're absolutely correct, and that's why I love when I get an opportunity to train someone on the Six Sigma framework, or I get an opportunity to share with them whether it's a lean process, because all of this you can apply not just to work, but you can apply it to your personal life. The other thing that I will say when it comes to change and it comes to helping my clients in particular get unstuck, is also understanding the difference between the I can't cycle and the I will cycle. And this works for especially for salespeople. People often that will ask me, they'll say, Lyman, I don't understand why I'm not able to close a deal. And I say, there's only really four reasons why a person will not buy from you. And it goes like this. Number one is inaction. A person is paralyzed because you've given them too much information that they're stuck. Okay, and they won't take any action because they're paralyzed. They don't know what to do. You overloaded them. Going back to your example of the clothes, being overloading the mind. A confused mind will not buy. The C stands for it costs too much, or the perception of the cost, or the unwillingness to pay the cost. If it's dealing with citizens, say, well, you know what, that's out of my price range. Or if it's an individual intrinsic value, they say, you know what, like it's like getting in shape. You know what, I'm not gonna pay the cost of going to the gym. I'm not gonna pay the cost to get a dietitian. I'm not willing to pay the cost. I know I should, but I'm not gonna do it. And then the A is they don't give themselves authorization or the authority to do it. They're waiting on something, they're waiting on someone to tap them, to knight them, to give them permission to do it. You know, and you can tell people that operates in that. Well, they won't let me. Well, who is they? I don't know who they is, but they won't let me. They won't let us. They keep us away. It's that proverbial they that no one can define. It's the mystery person. It's the boogeyman under the bed. You can never define, but I know that they is there and they won't allow me. I don't have authority. And then the end is they don't see the need for change. Change is not change until it's changed. So if I don't see the need to change, you can coach me, Lyman, till you are blue in the face. I'm not going to change. And the T is trust. Either they don't trust you, themselves, or the process or the product or service that you are pitching. And so, again, for those that are watching or listening, you're writing this down, I can't just simply means that you gave them too much information that they're overloaded, so they take inaction. The C is the cost. The A is they don't feel that they're authorized or they have not given themselves permission to change. The N is they don't see the need to change. And T is, you know what? I've tried so many programs and I failed at everything. I don't trust myself enough to change. To move them over to I will is number one, being intentional. You know what? I choose to make a change when? Today. It's not enough just to say, I choose to change. Well, when? I choose to change today. What time today? Right now. Did you write it down? Write it down. Make a contract with yourself. You have to be intentional. The W stand, you have to feel a sense of worthiness. So many people feel unworthy. You know what? I didn't take care of my body. This is somehow a curse from the gods. I'm getting what I deserved. I abused my body, when I was younger. These are just the consequences of the decisions that I've made. So I'm not worthy of grace. I'm not worthy to live a prosperous life. You got to get rid of that. You have to see yourself not only being intentional, but see yourself as being worthy of success, worthy of grace, worthy of all the good things that the universe. I'm getting excited here. Let me slow down. But then that leads to integrity. You have to live in your truth. No one can tell you what that truth is. You have to own your own truth. You know what? Yes, I've made some mistakes. Yes, I've wronged some people. But as of today, I choose to live in my truth. And how do I want my truth to be presented? I want to live in integrity. I want to be an honest person. I want to make sure that my words are aligned with my actions. And it starts today. And then the L is always learning. You show me a person who refused to learn, and I will show you a person who is stuck, and I will show you a person who's actually devolving rather than evolving. They're going backwards as opposed to moving forward. Remain teachable. That's why I love, yes, I'm a certified business and life coach, but guess what? I have a coach.
Mm-hmm.
That's just like a therapist not having a therapist. Any therapist will tell you what they learn in medical school is because you're dealing with so much trauma and other people's trauma, you have to see someone to unpack that trauma. Otherwise, you will internalize it and it will begin to eat at you. So always be learning and teachable. And then the L, the last L, stands for leadership. Either I'm willing to follow and be led, or I'm at a position now that I'm no longer a student per se, but it's time for me to lead. See, some people want to stay in student mode, always learning, but never executing. At some point, you have to graduate. At some point, you have to execute what you learn. So again, the difference between I can't, inaction, cost, authorization, need, and trust, moving over to I will, I am intentional. I choose this day the direction I want my life to be. I am worthy to have all the goodness, all the blessings that I deserve. I deserve a good marriage. I deserve to have great children. I deserve to have a great job. I deserve to drive a good car, dependable car. I live in my truth. I am a man, a woman of integrity. I'm always learning. And yes, I am a student, but I can also lead. Okay. Oh, I done got excited. I'm sorry.
Love it. I love it. I think that that's really amazing. I just like I got so like motivated by just listening to all the things that you were sharing. I think that that makes so much sense, and I can't wait to rewatch this myself to like write all those notes down because this is truly amazing. I thank you for that.
No,
Uh
thank you. Thank you.
so one of the things, I mean, that was amazing, but you also you're an author. You have do you have what kind of books do you have out there for people to purchase?
Yeah. I have written 8 books. I've co-written another 3 or 4 books. Um, I just released a new book about 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, called "Sacred Not Sinful." This deals with the issue of fraternities and sororities and faith. Majority of the books that I write about are in the self-help uh, niche. And so the first book that I wrote is the book of my life story, moving from being bullied, a serious speech impediment, sexually abused for 3 years by a teacher, and the tools that I use to move from tragedy to strategies. All of us, regardless of who we are, have gone through traumatic experiences. Okay. And I try not to paint a picture that my trauma is somehow uh, more important than someone else's trauma. I was talking with a young man a couple of weeks ago, and he said to me, he's like, Dr. Lyman, um, I really don't have any trauma. Uh, I, 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 I mean, I grew up in a great family. I made good grades. I said, well, let's talk about that. When you got straight A's, how did the students treat you? Oh, well, they called me names. I said, well, that's trauma. Did you like when they called you names? Like, no. But because I came from such a great family system, I was able to deal with it. And I said, well, regardless of what type of trauma or the level of the trauma, did you give thought to it? Did you think about it? Like, yeah, it started to bother me, but then I realized, you know what? They're just jealous because they're not making the grades. And I think that's the key is whenever you go through trauma, the difference between allowing that trauma to define who you are, as opposed to looking at that trauma as just a moment in time. My sexual abuse does not define me as a victim. All it does is point to a period in time that allows me to see the world differently, to see the world with compassion for those that are hurting, those that are suffering, and to want to make sure that if I can ensure that no other child go through what I went through as a child. And so that's just a different way. Again, that's moving from the I can't. You know what? Because I was sexually abused, I can't do this. Because I had a speech impediment, because I had a learning disability. It's amazing to me when I had a fifth grade teacher, Mr. Ron, yes, I'm going to call his name, Mr. Ron, said that I was not college material, that I would not, the best thing that I could hope for was probably getting a job at General Motors. This is what my fifth grade teacher told me. And now I sit here rather, not with one master's, two master's degree, an earned PhD, have traveled all over the world, has spoken to up to 35, 40,000 people on my way to Vegas in a couple of weeks to speak, get paid a very, 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 very nice, my wife and I are in one of the top 2 to 3% income brackets in the state of Ohio. All because I refused to listen and allow what happened to me to define me. And I want to let everyone that will hear or watch this podcast, if you feel trapped, if someone told you you can't do something, I want to let you know that you have an I will inside of you. Not a I can't. Don't listen to the ones that tell you that you can't. I want you to say to yourself today, not only I can, but I will. So move from I can't to I can to I will. Now, what's the difference between I can and I will? See, I can is just a promise of doing something. But when you move to I will, now you put some action behind it. Now you put some force, some intention behind it. And now you've sealed the deal because I can. Well, that's kind of passive. Well, yeah, I can do it. But when I say I will, and I put a time stamp on it, I will by this day have this done, and I sign it. And now I have a great coach to hold me accountable to doing it. I can't help but succeed. I'm
I
sorry,
love
let
it.
me calm down.
I love it. No, I love it. And I've had that same mentality, growing up is like when people said you couldn't do something, I'm like, well, watch me because I'm going to do it.
Yes.
And the speech impediment, I understand that. I was in speech for a long time, and here I've recorded over 100 podcasts, and
Could never tell.
yeah, 25,000 downloads my first year. So I'm like,
Wow.
doing something right.
Absolutely. And I had a medical condition, I guess I still have it, called synesthesia, is where I literally words, when a person talked, when I was younger, I could literally see the words in the air, like a cartoon
Uh-huh.
caption. And it used to scare me to the point I'm like, I'm looking up at the sky rather than looking at the person because I literally can see the words form like almost clouds. And even today, if I get real tired, words on a piece of paper, they become colors to me. That's probably why I write. And I didn't know this till years later. I was at a conference speaking, and I was sharing with a neurosurgeon, and she said, "Well, Lyman, what it sounds like to me is that you have auditory synesthesia." I'm like, "What is that?" She was like, "That's where the brain is a neurological phenomenon, where the wiring of the brain between the auditory of what you hear and what you see and how you interpret that gets crossed." Some people can smell colors. Some people can, for example, they can hear something, and what they're hearing is translated into rhythms and sounds. And it's just one of those interesting things that tends to happen.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, I just think that everything you shared is so amazing. And, you're speaking, you're coaching, you're doing all these things. Tell us a little bit about your coaching program. If somebody wanted to coach with you, what does that entail?
Sure, thank you for asking. It's real easy. What I encourage people to do, go to my website. It's real easy. CoachLyman.com. CoachLyman.com. There's an easy assessment you can take, an application, because we want to make sure it's a good fit. And so we have 3 to 4 different type of coaching programs that's available. We have a coaching program, which I just talked about, which is perhaps the most popular one, is helping people move out of that I can't into the I will framework coaching program. And with that particular program, and the reason it's so powerful is that it literally helps people get unstuck, and they begin to see results within 72 hours guaranteed. It's amazing how when they begin to identify those triggers and they begin to understand, we talk about that fist, looking at facts, interpretation of those facts, and how they have created stories and presented those stories as truth, it begins to set them on a course towards freedom. And I've had people in tears say, oh my God, I never knew why I would retreat and just become so angry until I realized that when I got triggered, instead of turning to something positive, I turned to something negative. I bought into that story of not feeling worthy, that I felt, you know what, I deserve to be punished, and I would punish myself. And so that's probably our most popular coaching program is the I Came to I Will coaching program. And again, just go to my website, coachlyman.com. That's Lyman, Coach Lyman, Lyman.com.
Well, thank you for that. I will make sure that I have all your links on in the show notes, and I thank you for sharing all of these things. And one of the things I always ask my listeners, or my guests, I mean, for my listeners, is what is a word, a phrase, an action? You shared so many great things today, but what is something that you would like if our listeners can leave with one thing to help them today to refine and shine? It could even be a book you recommend or anything like that.
I tell you, my 2 words. I know you said a word, but I give you 2 words.
That's fine.
I will. The most powerful word or words that I have found is I will. Because even when you say I will, it changes your posture. I spent a lifetime talking about, oh, I know I can, very passive. But when I moved from I can't to I can, which is a possibility, to I will, it did something for me. It does something for my clients. And so I would say change your language from I can't to I can. That's progress. And move over to I will. It's a progress. It's a process.
I love that. I even just thinking as you're talking, seeing the words, like for me, I kind of see the same things you see, but it's like even in your daily actions, like when we go to work, we don't say I have to go to work. I get to go to work because it's a blessing. But
Yes.
then it's even changing it for me. I'm thinking like I will make X amount of money, or I
There you
will
go.
be a number one podcaster. I will. The way that it is, instead of saying I want to be or I get to be, it's like I will. I can
Yeah.
just see that's the transformation of possibilities because I'm going to be intentional. I'm going to set the date. I'm going to get the coach, keep learning all the things.
And notice something. When you say I will, it straightens you up.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, it's such a powerful word of action as opposed to passivity. When a person says, I can, that just means you have the potential of doing it. But we also understand that potential energy is nothing more than stored energy. It's not into what we call the bow effect. If I were to take a bow and arrow, separately, they do nothing. But when I put that arrow in that bow and I began to pull back and put tension on it, it looked as if I'm retreating. But I'm taking all that potential stored energy, right? I can. But once I release it, it becomes I will. And that's how when we begin to think about our life and what we want to achieve, real quick, I had set out that I wanted to meet 3 key important people in my life. And I didn't know how. One of them by the name of Lexi Allen. The other one is a gentleman that I fell in love with um, called Anthony O'Neill. He has a huge podcast called At the Table. Anthony O'Neill deals with finance, right? December 7th, I will be on this podcast
Awesome.
because I set the intention. Lexi Allen is a world-renowned journalist in the African American community, in the faith community. She used to have a program called the Lexi Allen Show that was real popular several years ago. And I said, oh my God, I love her energy. Someday I'm going to meet her. What I didn't know is a good friend of mine that I was in casual conversation with. He happens to mention Lexi Allen, right? I said, you know, they said, man, I talk to Lexi all the time. I said, oh my God, I would love to meet her. Christopher Reed and I have been friends for 15 years. I didn't know that he knew Lexi. So that idea of what's that, 6 degrees of separation?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know Lexi knew Anthony O'Neill. So here it is. Chris Reed, my good friend, introduces me to Lexi Allen. Lexi Allen introduces me and says, hey, you need to have Lyman on your podcast. That's how the universe works. But if I just said, you know, well, I kind of won't. But when I began to move into I will, and I literally wrote down, I will meet this person, I will meet that person, and put some intention and some work behind it, and things just line up. I didn't know how, I didn't know when. All I knew is I will do it.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that. I think that's so amazing. I love how you wrote it down, and that's something that I like. When I a couple of years ago, I figured out I was being too complacent. Life was hard, and I was being like settled for less than I think I should have been settling for. And it goes back to your worthiness, right? And things like that. And I'm like, I need to make a change to my career. And so I set up a dollar amount that I wanted to make. And I did
Yes.
it. I didn't know how it was going to happen. I found a new job. I like left an organization, went and did all these different things, and I made that dollar amount that year.
Isn't it amazing?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to show you something. This is funny. My bookshelf, I have all these binders. These are all my notes, just with tabs. I used to do them by longhand, but then I said, wait a minute, get smarter, automate some of this stuff. And so now I have tools that basically transcribe what I say and print it out because it just took me too long. But I go through, write notes every single day. I go through legal tabs by the week. My wife will tell you, I will wake up 2 or 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning with an idea. I run down to the office and just start writing. The power of writing is a lost art.
Mm-hmm.
I tell people, if you would just write things down, it increases your retention by 35 to 40%. Just the act of writing, hand-eye coordination. And it's amazing. So the mere fact you talked about, you had a dollar amount in mind. May I ask, how long did it take you from the time you said, I will, to it actually happen, if I may ask?
It was about a year, maybe 10 months.
That's incredible. You know how many people say I will, but they don't really mean it, and they didn't put any action behind it, and 10 years later still talking about, oh, I know, I should. It's sort of like that old song, would have, should have, but didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I never forget, I heard this story, and I know it's true, where a person had this idea to invent something. And he told everybody, you know what? Someday I'm going to invent this. Someday I'm going to invent this. He never did it. Fast forward 20 years, he has this magazine advertisement saying, I can't believe someone stole my idea. Y'all know this is my idea. This is the exact idea. He stole this. Well, what's the difference? While he was telling people, I have an idea, someone executed. And now he's reading. And I believe this as a person of faith. I believe that God may have given him that idea, but because he didn't do anything with it, God said, you know what? Since you're not going to do anything with it, I'm going to take it and give it to someone who would execute.
Mm-hmm.
You can say God, universe, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I do believe that if we're not good stewards of the gifts, the talents that we've received, then why would the universe not say, you know what? You're not ready. I'm going to give it to someone who is willing, available, teachable to do something with it.
I think
And
that's
I've
so
always
true.
wanted to be in a willing and ready position. Whatever you have for me, I'm ready. I excelled in school. I excelled in coaching program. Um, Someone asked me a question when they said, Lyman, how much have you spent on personal coaching? About $150,000 out of pocket just on coaching. And I got receipts to show it. $150,000 because I wanted to be the best in my space. And every coaching program that I've been in, I've excelled to be the top because I executed everything they told me to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it. And I will tell you that $150,000 investment, I have triple, quadrupled that many times over.
I think that's amazing. Well, I think that that's so important too, is that we have to invest in ourselves and
Yes.
keep learning. And I think it's important, and not to sometimes worry about the cost of it, but worry that, just not even worrying about that. Execute what you're paying for, and then, see what the universe will give to you. I think that God puts
Yes.
so many things in our path for a reason, but it's up to us to take the action. And it goes all the way back to the I will. We have to do the things, and we have to be intentional and all of these things, but it all starts with, we have the choice, and we have to make the choice, and we have to take the action. So I think that's important.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for being an amazing guest
Thank
today.
you. This has been awesome.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Refine and Shine. We hope you find valuable insights and inspiration to fuel your journey of continuous improvement. Remember, the key to success lies in refining your processes and letting your inner brilliance shine. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Your feedback is greatly appreciated and helps us reach more listeners like you who are eager to refine and shine in all areas of life. Stay connected with us on social media for updates and additional resources and behind the scenes content. We love hearing from our listeners, so feel free to reach out with any suggestions, questions, or success stories you'd like to share. As we wrap up, remember that the power to transform your life lies within you. Keep striving for growth, embracing change, and seeking opportunities to refine your skills. Together, let's continue to shine bright and make a positive impact in the world. Until next time, keep refining and keep shining.